Have you ever apologized to someone even though, deep down, you knew you hadn't actually done anything wrong? Maybe you said no because you were tired, busy, or simply needed some time for yourself. The other person became disappointed, and suddenly you started questioning everything. Maybe I was selfish. Maybe I should have helped. Maybe I should apologize. Nothing terrible happened, yet your mind keeps replaying the conversation as if you've committed some invisible crime. This is the strange thing about guilt. Sometimes you can feel guilty without actually being guilty. Guilt is supposed to tell us that we've crossed a moral line. We hurt someone, we recognize it, and the discomfort pushes us to repair what we did. But emotions aren't always perfect reflections of reality. Sometimes the feeling of guilt appears simply because somebody else is unhappy with us. Imagine telling a friend, "I can't help you tonight. I need some time for myself." They become quiet. Their voice changes. Maybe they simply say, "It's fine," but you can hear that it isn't. Suddenly, you stop thinking about why you said no and start thinking about their reaction. Did I disappoint them? Did I sound selfish? Should I change my decision? Notice what happened. Their discomfort became your evidence of wrongdoing. But someone can be disappointed in you without you doing anything wrong. Someone can be angry with you without you being responsible for their anger. And someone can misunderstand you without you having to destroy your own boundaries to prove that you're a good person. Yet for some people, this distinction is extremely difficult. They constantly monitor other people's moods. A change in someone's voice feels important. Silence feels threatening. Disappointment feels like a personal failure. When someone becomes distant, their first instinct is to search for what they did wrong. And the mind is very good at creating stories when it doesn't have enough information. Someone doesn't reply to your message, and suddenly you remember something you said yesterday. Someone looks annoyed, and you start analyzing the entire conversation. You don't know what happened, but your brain wants an explanation. And if you've learned to blame yourself, the explanation is often simple: it must be me. Psychologists have connected excessive guilt with patterns such as anxiety, perfectionism, people-pleasing, and an exaggerated sense of responsibility. In other words, sometimes guilt isn't really asking, "Did I do something wrong?" It's asking, "Did somebody become unhappy because of me?" Those questions are completely different. And this pattern can begin surprisingly early. A child may learn that when everyone around them is happy, life feels safe. When someone is angry, disappointed, or upset, the child may start adjusting their own behavior to restore peace. They become careful. They learn to apologize quickly. They avoid conflict. They become extremely good at understanding everyone else's emotions. But eventually, something gets lost. They become less aware of their own. They know when everyone else is uncomfortable, but they don't know when they're exhausted. They know what other people need, but struggle to recognize what they need themselves. And slowly, being a good person can become confused with being a person who never makes anyone uncomfortable. That's where guilt becomes dangerous. Because now you aren't always making decisions based on your values. You're making decisions based on avoiding the feeling of guilt. You say yes because saying no feels terrible. You apologize because someone is disappointed. You explain yourself because being misunderstood feels unbearable. From the outside, it may look like kindness. But sometimes, it's fear wearing the costume of kindness. And this is where Carl Jung's idea of the shadow becomes interesting. If you've built your identity around being kind, patient, reliable, and understanding, what happens to the part of you that wants to say, no? What happens to your anger? Your frustration? Your need for space? Your desire to stop pleasing everyone? You may push those feelings away because they don't fit the person you've decided you should be. But rejected parts of yourself don't simply disappear. The anger can become resentment. The unspoken boundary can become exhaustion. And the part of you that wants to say no can eventually appear as guilt whenever you finally listen to yourself. Maybe that's why the guilt feels so powerful. You're not only fighting another person's expectations. You're fighting an old version of yourself. There is a strange paradox here. The person who tries hardest never to disappoint anyone can eventually become deeply disappointed with themselves. Every time you ignore your own needs to keep someone else happy, you reinforce the belief that your needs come second. Every time you apologize for a reasonable boundary, you teach yourself that boundaries are dangerous. And every time you take responsibility for someone else's emotional reaction, that responsibility becomes easier to accept the next time. Eventually, you stop asking, "What do I actually want?" And start asking, what will keep everyone else happy? That sounds caring, but it can become a prison. Because you cannot control how people feel about you. You can be kind and someone can still dislike you. You can be honest and someone can still become angry. You can make a reasonable decision and someone can still be disappointed. Their reaction doesn't automatically determine your morality. And perhaps that's why saying no can feel so uncomfortable. The problem isn't always the word no. The problem is what you believe that word says about you. No becomes selfish. A boundary becomes rejection. Someone's disappointment becomes evidence that you failed. And eventually, you aren't avoiding the situation anymore. You're avoiding the guilt. That's an important difference. You may agree to something you don't want to do simply because refusing feels worse. You may apologize even when you're not wrong because being disliked feels more painful than abandoning your own position. But real kindness doesn't require you to disappear. You can care about someone's feelings without becoming responsible for them. You can understand someone's anger without accepting blame for it. You can love someone without constantly proving that love through self-sacrifice. So the next time guilt appears, don't immediately ask, how do I make this feeling disappear? Ask something much more precise, what exactly did I do? Did you lie? Did you betray someone? Did you intentionally hurt them? Did you break a promise? Or did you simply say no? Did you choose yourself? Did someone become disappointed because you weren't available? Those are completely different situations. Sometimes guilt contains useful information. But sometimes, it contains history. You can feel guilty and still be innocent. You can feel selfish and still be acting responsibly. You can disappoint someone and still make the right decision. And perhaps that is one of the most important things to understand about emotions. A feeling can be real without being a verdict. Maybe the guilt you're carrying today doesn't entirely belong to the person you are now. Maybe some of it belongs to an older version of you who learned that being loved meant being easy, being safe meant being agreeable, and being good meant never disappointing anyone. You've followed that rule for so long that you may have stopped recognizing it as a rule. You started calling it your personality. The nice one. The understanding one. The reliable one. The person who never causes problems. But underneath that identity, there may be another version of you. A version that can say no without hatred. A version that can care without carrying everyone else's emotions. A version that can apologize when necessary without apologizing for existing. And perhaps becoming that person doesn't mean becoming selfish. Perhaps it means becoming whole. So the next time your mind whispers, you did something wrong, stop and look for the evidence. Find the crime. If there isn't one, maybe the feeling isn't a verdict. Maybe it's an old alarm. And perhaps the deeper question isn't, why do I feel guilty? It's, when did I learn that someone else's discomfort was my responsibility? Because sometimes, the hardest person to disappoint isn't another person. It's the version of yourself you were trained to become.